And welcome once again to the 9:15 p.m. edition of the Movies and Stuff show. My name is Dan, and joining me this week is Marty, Amanda, and Jamil. I'm just kind of getting right into it because we're about 15 minutes late.
TBS standards.
It's amazing. Yeah, if, 9:15. I don't even want to get into it. Why we're late. We're talking about...
We spend too much time at the beginning of our show saying why we're late. People just expect us to be late now. It's fine.
I feel like we've been... cursed with the Tom Knobloch unable to get a live show on syndrome. It's an actual thing. You look it up in WebMD.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, Last Jedi. I was about to quit doing a web show a few weeks ago, and Marty said, no, you have to keep doing it because I have to talk about The Last Jedi. So I made it. Here's The Last Jedi. For you, Marty. I did it.
Merry Christmas to me.
And then after trying to get this episode on, I'm still not convinced about doing the live web show anymore. So this better be a good episode. You better convince me that this was worth it instead of killing it 2 weeks ago. Merry Christmas. Last Jedi. Okay, so Last Jedi came out last Thursday night, Friday, whatever you want to call it. Last Thursday night. I saw it Thursday night at like 9:30 p.m. I think you saw it a little bit later than I did. I saw you check in. You went to a
It was just 10, so same time.
Yeah, we're at the same time. It seems to be a pretty divisive film. It seems to be getting really split from what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of people that just hate this movie. I'm seeing a lot of people that like it. I'm of the frame of mind, and we'll go around the room real quick in regards to what everyone thought of it. Overall, I enjoyed it. I had a fun time. It's at least 20 minutes too long, and it felt even longer. I think I made the comment the other day that Blade Runner was like 3 hours, and this felt longer than Blade Runner, and this was only 2 hours and 20 minutes. There's a lot that I felt could have been cut out, wasn't necessary, and we'll get into that when we start talking about the spoilers stuff. So we'll just go around the room, I guess clockwise. So Jamil, what do you think?
I don't know what to think, honestly. I mean, there's parts I really like. There's parts I dislike. I pretty much disagree with almost everything they did with Luke Skywalker. Like, everything with Luke Skywalker I disagree with. There's parts of this movie that enter almost prequel level of ridiculousness. But overall, I think I liked it. Like, I will say this, I don't know where the next movie is going, and that's a good thing, because they literally used up everything they could have used up from the old movies in this.
Keeping going around the clock, Amanda?
Well, I was expecting The Empire Strikes Back in reverse, and I think that's what I got, so I'm pretty happy with it.
We'll have you elaborate that a bit more later. Marty, general thoughts?
I loved it. I mean, I'll agree. There are parts that don't work at all, but those parts don't ruin the movie for me as much. We talked about Rogue One last week, that there are parts of the movie just took me out of it and ruined the movie for me. There are parts in this movie that simply just didn't work. We'll probably agree on the parts that don't work. I won't agree with Jamil. I thought everything with Luke was amazing. I thought the Luke-Rey stuff was amazing. I thought the Kylo-Rey stuff worked really well. It was just, and I agree, it was long. I didn't feel it as long at the end. I felt it dragged in the middle, as the plot point I'm sure we'll all talk about not working. But the ending I thought worked beautifully. I thought they wrapped up some amazing characters here in perfect fashion. And I still only seen it once. I got to go see it again. But first initial thought was I really enjoyed it.
Well, in the chat, this movie made M. Vance's butt hurt. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, did it fuck him so hard that it was,
He might not have been in a comfortable seat.
Right. Maybe. Okay, so this movie follows where literally
Almost, yeah,
to the
much.
moment of where The Force Awakens leaves off.
Wait. Does it really? Are you sure?
Yeah, that's, I think, obvious, right?
I don't think it's obvious.
Well, it's certainly with the Luke and Rey.
Well, the Luke and Rey
situation.
stuff. I think some of the other stuff might
Yeah.
actually be an alternate timeline. I think the other stuff might be, yeah.
Yeah, like they could be weeks apart.
Yeah,
They could be months
that's
apart.
a fair point.
I mean, weeks, but it's not. It's in the general time of the last movie. It's not like
The Rey stuff literally takes off where the movie left off, though. We can agree on that. The other stuff, maybe it's
maybe weeks or days, but still in that
general
time.
vicinity. It's not 40 years in the future, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they found them on the base on the last where we lost all of them, and that's where they're escaping from.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Pretty much, this episode's gonna be spoilers. Okay, so this leaves off fairly, pretty much where Force Awakens left off. Amanda, is that good?
Precision of language.
Okay. It literally leaves off where Force Awakens left off with Rey and Luke, though.
Can we agree there?
She's still not agreeing with that. Okay, so where Force Awakens left off with Rey and Luke is Rey and Chewie. They get to the Lost Jedi island, planet, temple thing, with some sweet-ass nuns. We all agree? Those nuns are pretty badass, right? And so Rey hands over the lightsaber to Luke, to which Luke promptly and almost in pure Marvel fashion tosses the lightsaber aside. It's like, fuck this thing, you know. So we start off with kind of a joke right off the start with Luke doing the joke.
I think as much as it was a joke, I think it was the beginning of the theory of the idea of, we don't care about your fan theories, right? Because so much of these after Force Awakens, all right, who is this? What does this mean? What does that mean? And this movie was just, we're taking that all, we're going to throw it over here, and this is our movie. And that's why some people don't like it. I agree. It's not. I don't think it's as divisive as the internet would let you believe. I think you look at some of the cinema scores and stuff like that. It's still fairly well received. Rotten Tomatoes is 93, I believe. Cinema score is an A. I think the Rotten Tomato score is a little shaky when you look at it. But there are some hardcore Star Wars fans I've seen that don't like what they've done with this. Jamil is not in the, well, I don't want to say minority because that gets into a whole other situation. But he's
Jesus.
And that's it. That's the end of the show. Thank you for tuning in.
Good night,
Please
everyone.
like, subscribe. Okay, so let's continue on with what this is about. So that's kind of where Luke and Rey leave off. You have everyone else pretty much being chased down by the First Order, right? So you have Leia, Poe, Finn wakes up out of some kind of coma, like oozing whatever have you, and they're being chased by the First Order, who can apparently somehow tie a string to them through. Is it warp speed, hyperdrive, ludicrous speed? I can't remember what exactly they call it in this.
light speed.
And so those are the two, I guess, main storylines in it. Where it intersects, of course, is with follows up on Kylo and what's going on with him and how he's dealing with his big boy emotions throughout all of this, and he's trying to shake the feeling of killing his dad in the first movie and become a better Sith. Really. Okay, so let's that's the general of where this movie kind of is, right? So let's just start talking about what you were talking about, Marty, and it's some of those decisions that were made by the director, Rian Johnson, who got to write this as well. I guess the first thing right off the bat is we'll say Snoke was a big kind of who's Snoke? What's his background? Who is this guy? Fan theories going crazy over that is. We didn't find out. So anyone upset about that?
I was initially thinking, wow, they didn't explain, but then I saw some interviews this week with Rian Johnson where he said, you know what? You didn't know where Palpatine came from in the originals. You found out later, but there was no backstory on him. He was the big evil emperor,
So we're gonna get prequels to these sequels.
But he also said
somehow gonna fall in line between the for original 3.
I mean, there's 30 years there to fill. But like he was saying too, would it matter if he threw in a 5-minute, speech or whatever explaining what it was? Would it really have changed all that much of the movie? It would have changed the hardcore fans. It would have gave them something they wanted. But for the everyday fan, I don't think they cared all that much where he came from.
Amanda, did you care that we didn't learn about Snoke?
I didn't care because he was not a really compelling villain anyways. If maybe I had cared about Snoke more at all, I would be disappointed. Or maybe a backstory may have made him a more compelling villain, but like I didn't care. I've been thinking back a lot to what it was like to watch Star Wars for the first time, and the first time I watched A New Hope, I definitely didn't sit there and go, but Dad, like, what did Darth Vader do when he was a little kid? Like, I never wanted to know that. I never said, but Dad, like, where did the Emperor come from? But Dad, where did the Ewoks come from? How'd they get on that planet? Like, no, like, people used to be okay with aspects being unexplained. So I'm fine, especially in science fiction.
Jamil, with Snoke, were you expecting more? Were you disappointed with how that all played out? And by the way, spoiler alert, he dies.
Oh, I thought we were going to go in order. I thought we were going to go chronological here.
You see, the thing is, I don't know if I actually care about Snoke, but it would be nice if maybe this the thing, right? With the original trilogy, there's nothing to build on. We don't know anything about any of these characters. We know nothing about Luke, Leia, or Han, But these characters we know now, like just by association, you can't help that it's a sequel. And because of that, it would have been, I don't know if a bad story, but like Luke does say a line, like, he has taken, like Snoke was causing so much pain in my family, he's taking everything away. Like, again, if we didn't know Luke, that doesn't matter. But since we've known Luke, it's like, the fuck did this guy do? But I guess it doesn't matter. I guess we'll get like a book about some shit that I'll never read, But
That's the thing too. I'll read the book and I'll tell you guys a story one day in 6 months, and you're not going to care. So this argument is kind of pointless.
But no, it just like, again, just by the sake of it being a sequel and the fact that he has affected this family so much, it would have been nice to know where. Not I don't need this whole backstory, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more, or at least make it through 3 movies. You know what I'm saying? Just like something.
I'll agree. It does. It hurts a little bit not knowing where he came from, but I do think it was right to kill him. Because I'm not sure where he would fit in a 3rd movie at this point. If you're not going to have, I guess we'll do another major spoiler. If you're not going to have Luke around either, the idea to have Snoke around wouldn't make sense, I don't think, in a 3rd movie.
Oh, they're going to have Luke around.
I mean, in another form.
Yeah, I listen, I agree with Amanda. I don't think Snoke was a compelling villain. I think he was almost fodder. I think he was just... he was there to get Kylo where he kind of needed to be. Yeah. He had to be, more powerful than Kylo. I mean, it irks me that this guy kind of comes out of nowhere within 30 years. That's the thing that pisses me off. And I get that Palpatine, came out of nowhere, but when we learn his backstory, the fact is, like, it makes sense, but we know now this 30 years compact. So where was this guy? How did he get so powerful? I mean, it doesn't necessarily bother me, because again, where he fits into this whole plot, I agree. There is no spot for him now in the way that Kylo had to evolve. And one of our concerns that we mentioned last week on last week's show when we were talking about Attack of the Clones is I didn't want another Anakin. I didn't want another Hayden Christensen kind of whiny, and Kylo's kind of jumped out of that in this movie. And it's as if, you said you gave the keys to the Death Star to Darth Vader in the 2nd movie and killed off Palpatine and let Darth Vader just run amok in the 3rd one. And I think that's kind of what we're going to see with Kylo in the 3rd one. And we kind of saw it at the end of this one as well, of what happens when someone who's not completely in control, someone who doesn't have the experience. It's almost like, okay, the CEO retired, and so now we're going to put in the young kind of 30-year-old CEO, young guy to run the company, and the guy doesn't quite have the experience. He doesn't really quite know what to do, and he thinks he has the right answers and fire everything at Luke, and it doesn't work. So that was Snoke, right? Okay. The next thing is speculation over Rey's parents, of who they could be. Was she a Kenobi? Was she secretly a Skywalker? Is she somehow Kylo Ren's twin sister? And we found out that her parents are absolutely
crackheads.
No one. They are crackheads. I took it as that. I heard junkers, but I also could have heard junkies.
I thought they said drunks.
No,
junkers.
Junkers who sold it for alcohol.
Junkers who sold it, yeah. I'm fine.
Makes sense. She comes from a junk planet.
Listen. I'm fine with it. Anakin was from kind of nobodies, right? I mean, Anakin he was kind of the Immaculate Conception type thing.
He was a slave.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't mind that her parents are nobodies, but were the expectations more?
I mean, I think the initial idea was, she's got to be somebody. But as time went on, people were more and more thinking she's likely nobody. Mm-hmm. And it just fit with the story they were telling, too. They're trying to expand. It's funny. People hate The Force Awakens because it's too much like the original, and it takes no risk. This movie, he's trying to say, all right, Star Wars is bigger than just the Skywalkers. The Force is not allowed for us just family. So we're going to expand on everything. Not everyone, you don't have to be someone's grandson to be Force sensitive. The Force is for everybody, and it picks who it wants. So that's the idea that she's not, special, but she's not special because where she's from. She's special because who she is.
We'll get into that Force thing in a little bit. I'm gonna turn a question to Amanda. This focuses kind of around Rey and what we're talking about. The fact that we have to switch gears, and this is Rey's story now. Does it still feel that this trilogy is supposed to be the end of the Skywalker story, so maybe she should have been related to it, or are you fine with her being kind of outside?
Oh, I'm fine with her being just a normal person. Yeah, I never. I mean, I kind of was like, I've seen a movie before. I'm sure she's like, a Palpatine clone or something, just because that's how movies work. But I'm really happy that they're like, no, other people are allowed to use the Force. Maybe they don't get to be like, this is related to other themes. Maybe they don't get to be Jedi Masters and wear the robes.
We're going to get into that too.
Maybe they're just Force users if they're not related to somebody. But no, I'm fine with that. I think that's great. I think that's better.
Jamil, do you think there's a chance that JJ kind of retcons that and actually it pulls the wool over her eyes in the third one and makes her secretly she was Luke's daughter?
Padme was frozen.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I'm actually happy that she's no one, but this is the overall problem with this trilogy. Apparently, they don't have a roadmap, and these motherfuckers making it up.
I know
each movie as they go. And J.J. Abrams definitely set up some things that this movie just says, fuck it. And again, it's not about whether she is or not, because like I said, I'm glad that she's not. But there's a whole movie before this where they literally set up that question. Mm-hmm. Like there's a whole like they set up that question who Snoke is. There's a lot of questions that The Force Awakens. Rian
Johnson just gives the middle finger to it all, and that's what Marty was alluding to earlier. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, though, because then, you look at all three Star Wars movies, it feels like a cohesive whole. Like, I don't know if this trilogy is going to feel like that in the end. You know what I'm saying? But yes, it's fine that her parents is no one. I just wish we didn't have a movie setting it up because because people say, "Oh, you dumb fans," that's what you get for speculating. But no, they set that shit up. That wasn't out of nowhere. We're not stupid. Like that was literally a question set up. Like,
yeah, we've all seen movies before.
Yeah, shit. But no, it's fine that she's no one. I prefer that.
So I guess the third major thing that, there's a lot of things that people are upset about, but the third major thing is Luke's character development, his arc, where they decided to go with him, and where they decided to go with him is he's pretty much turned himself off to the Force. He blames himself for the rise of Kylo, and instead of fighting him and trying to fight the First Order and dying, to protect the ones he loves, he runs away. And he just shuts himself off and pretends like, la, 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 this stuff isn't happening. And a lot of people are upset about that. I'm not. I kind of like the character development that they did with him. I think, while I want Luke to be the gung-ho kind of like, yeah, I'm going to fight to the bitter end, there's part of him that probably worries of what would happen to him if he kept the Force around him, and maybe he would go, because there was always that temptation for him to go to the dark side as well, right? And I think seeing it in Kylo, I think he probably felt that there's a chance that he wouldn't be able to not only just not defeat him, but he would just he would go to the dark side as well. So shutting himself off is makes the most sense. Marty, you seem to like the character development, right?
I love it because it was great in that he touched on all the things we've been saying about the Jedi and the Force for, since we watched the prequels or the originals. He says it right out to Rey, the Jedi were right there and watched Palpatine rise and didn't do anything. The Jedi were responsible for guiding Anakin, and he turned into Vader. And so now he's like, well, what do you expect me to do? Just run in with my laser sword and take on everybody and kill and win the battle? And that's why the ending, the more I think about it, is so perfect, because he knows he can't beat the First Order, but the legend of Luke Skywalker can beat the First Order. So he sends the legend to fight them. And so how do you kill the legend of Luke Skywalker? You shoot every gun you have at him. And it mind trips the fans too, because as you're watching it, it's so obvious that that's not the guy there. His hair's shorter. He looks clean. They spent 5 minutes talking about the salt on the ground, and everyone's scraping and red's flying. He doesn't move. When he moves, nothing happens. But we're all, holy shit, it's Luke Skywalker, and he's got a lightsaber. So we're transfixed on it too. So we don't even realize when that stuff happens. So when 1,000 bullets fly at him, we don't think he's gonna die because it's fucking Luke Skywalker. And so it was perfect that he knew. And now, when of course I thought, wow, he's gonna live, it'd be great. And of course he doesn't. It's still perfect when he dies for me. But it fed the ending perfectly in that the legend of Luke Skywalker lives on, and the whole rebellion can be reborn again because of his sacrifice. And like I said, when it first happened, I was like, oh, he didn't. Everyone, wanted this movie to be like, oh, I want Luke Skywalker to come in with the lightsaber and chop down everybody. But that's not, that's all the fanboy stuff we wanted. But sometimes you just have to sit back and, enjoy the movie that you get, because it's so much better than fan fiction. And everyone thought Force Awakens was just a remake and, fan service. This was threw everything out, and it's, people, I know not everyone's happy. I understand that. But I thought it really resonated. I just thought it worked perfectly.
Amanda, how'd you like Luke's character arc?
So for me, it reminded me a lot of some of the older martial arts movies I've watched, where the point is sort of that the master is the master because he fights without fighting. So, like, I really appreciated that sort of. And I mean, we see it from Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back also. Like, you win without fighting, and that's kind of what the light, balanced side of the Force is supposed to be. Like, you win through understanding, you win through I guess being clever, you win through understanding your enemy. Like, you don't win from punching them really hard. But all of those movies that I love that have that message also have like some really great punching in them. So like Bruce Lee says a bunch of stuff about not fighting, but he does also fight. Yeah. So I could have done with like maybe one extra lightsaber fight. But overall, like I love that sort of thematic balance there that you fight without fighting.
It's funny too. You went kind of the martial arts film. I went to its strange cousin, the Western, right? And where it's this one guy could come in and save this whole town, if you will, but it's better if the town rises up to band together to fight the bad guys as a whole, right? Because that's how the town survives moving forward. Is one guy can't keep coming in and saving them; they have to be able to rise themselves up. And I think that was kind of the point of what they were trying to do with this. Is, as Marty pointed out, it's the legend of Luke Skywalker, the legend of the rebellion. Really, is what's going to ultimately beat the First Order, because people will continue to rise up, and eventually there'll be enough people that go against the First Order that they'll have that army that can beat them. Jamil, you are not happy with the Luke stuff?
Everything with Luke is beautiful. Everything with Luke is great. But the problem is, and what I realized while watching this movie is, I like these new characters. I just don't care about them as much as I care about Luke. Like, I like Rey. I like Finn and Poe, but I don't care about them as much as I do Han, Luke, or Leia. I just don't. And that's my issue. And I don't need him. It's the fact that if you watch the end of Return of the Jedi, there's hope, right? This movie basically said, none of that shit mattered. None of it mattered. None of it. He felt like everybody else. And I guess there's beauty in that. But now it puts the original trilogy in this weird context where, when it goes out with this happy ending, there is no happy ending. I think I would have been okay if maybe he didn't try to kill Kylo Ren in his sleep. Even my 9-year-old son had a problem with that. He's 9. These movies are made for him. Everybody say, oh, fuck the old movies. But my son was like, I don't think Luke would do that. That was my son, criticism. I don't think Luke would. Sure.
It was a moment of weakness.
Yeah, him being so scared and almost killing his nephew in his sleep. Like I said, it would have been nice if he had one lightsaber battle. I figured he would die. But I figured it would be in the purpose of saving everybody. Basically what he did, but with him actually being there.
But I mean, they couldn't have everybody getting killed by Kylo Ren with a lightsaber. I mean, it just wasn't. We already had Han, stabbed in the stomach. Did you really want to see him sliced in half?
It couldn't have been Kylo Ren. He could have went out like Magneto in Days of Future Past, where he take down half of their fucking ground troop. But the forces are just overwhelming in the end. You know what I'm saying? Show him that he has that power. Show him that he is that Luke Skywalker that we always imagined that he was apparently in the old EU. Who cares?
But that's the point. That's the whole point, though, is that he's not. He's not that Luke Skywalker. He's not the Luke from the Legend. He's not. I got a whole book that they put out, Legends of Luke Skywalker. It's all these stories, and you hear him say half of them are bullshit. He's not the Luke. He's never been the guy that came in and took out a whole, he's had 3 battles in his life, basically. And he took out the Death Star. Imagine being the guy who took out the Death Star and killed Darth Vader. How do you top that?
But Marty, but Marty, understand what I'm saying though. But doesn't this make the Last Jedi for nothing? Doesn't it feel like this makes the Last Jedi for nothing?
The American Revolution was for nothing because America sucks now. It's everything.
Well, for black people, it wouldn't matter if we won the American Revolution. But
I'll say something about that.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Please like, subscribe.
Did The Empire Strikes Back make A New Hope not worth it? Because, that ends with Luke injured, Han kidnapped.
Them getting awards, right?
Leia.
New Hope's they're getting the little awards, and then it's like bad stuff happens. Yeah.
Yeah, Leia's being.
Maybe you're right. It just for me, those are 3 movies. Like
Yeah.
I'm 33. For me, I knew there was 3 movies. Like I'm pretty sure if I'm like 45 and I thought I was getting no more Star Wars, then maybe. But I always knew there was 3 movies. You know what I'm saying? Just like I know this would be 3 movies.
Yeah.
Like at the time, we only thought there would be 1 New Hope. But like I know there will be 3 movies, and like it just feels like I don't know. Like I said, I don't want him like just do this whole movie because he does take over. Because when he's in the movie, it's no longer Rey's movie, and that's the problem. Like he was supposed to be in Force Awakens halfway through. They say no, he takes over the fucking movie. So I understand him like using him in a limited capacity. I just would like to see Luke do a little bit more. I would maybe not see him run away from everything. I don't know. Like I said, everything with him is beautiful. That's the thing. Like, even though I disagree with everything they do with him per se, everything with him everything they do with him is great. Like, this is Mark Hamill's best performance as Luke Skywalker. That speech he has, that talk he has with Leia at the end is the most beautiful thing in the whole fucking movie. I almost teared up. I just wish, there was a little more. I just wish it was just a little more to it. And I don't know how much I could blame Rian Johnson for this. I think the whole conceit of there's a rebellion and the Empire again is faulty to begin with. I think mainly that might be my biggest problem. Even more so than the Luke Skywalker thing. It's the fact that, we're back to, even though we have no idea where this 3rd movie is going now, we're back to where the fuck we was 30 years ago. Maybe if he would have ran away and the Empire was just now rising back, or the First Order was just now rising, you're like, I can't do this again. But the fact that basically all that shit was for nothing. Nothing.
I mean, it's
the Galactic within 30 years, the Galactic Senate is destroyed again.
But is that
bad
saying
guys,
that like World War I was for nothing because World War II came right around the corner from that? I mean, history repeats itself, and I think that's the issue here is it's not necessarily the Empire anymore. It's the First Order, which rose from the ashes of the Empire. So if you look at that as the Germany from World War I got crushed, and then out of that rose something even worse. So that's how I kind of look at the First Order is the Empire had this huge thing. They got beat. But as we've seen in American history, and even right now, you think something's suppressed, you think something's hidden, but no, it's just waiting to jump back out at you, But
no, it's not so much that they're around. It's just the fact that we're literally in the same spot we were. We're literally in the same spot. There's like 30 rebels. And like 1,000.
I think it's more hopeless, though, right? Isn't it the rebellion's actually a lot weaker than it was previously? It seemed like
they were never down to this few people.
Yeah.
I mean, reading between the lines here, it seems like the Empire was beat, and the galaxy started to become complacent in a way, and realizing it's like, that Empire's gone. The Palpatine's gone, Darth Vader's gone. We can kind of relax now, and then in their relaxation. And their complacency, something worse came about, and they were less prepared. So the rebellion is much smaller, it feels. It much feels like there's a lot less people against things, either out of fear, out of complacency, or the fact that maybe the First Order learned from the Empire's lessons and just killed a bunch of people right off the bat.
I think that's mainly what it was.
Or the fact that the writers aren't good at things like maintaining scale and size and how far apart things are and how many people there are.
Want to be nitpicky.
No, I think she's right. Again, it's the fact that we're literally just back to this. Like for all the things that this movie does different, and I do want different. We're literally right back to where it is. Do Star Wars always have to be rebels?
Doesn't that happen in Lord of the
Empire?
Rings too? I mean, after we see the giant battle where everyone gets together to fight Sauron, doesn't history just end up kind of repeating itself down the road again?
Yeah, like 10,000 years later.
I mean, we don't have 10,000 years to work with here, right? If we want to include those people, because if not, if we did this 10,000 years in the future, then you wouldn't be able to include Luke and Leia and them like that. If that's the way to go, then fine. But then you'd still just say, oh, remember when Luke Skywalker was awesome, but now he's dead. You know, I mean, to be able to include them as a farewell, as a swan song to these actors who were in the original, you have to make it close enough for it to happen. And in reality, wars happen like that.
I don't know. I think that's a lack of creativity. This is science fiction, science fantasy. There's look at one episode of Star Trek, and I could give you 10 explanations for how you can see characters from 10,000 years ago. This is just a lack of imagination.
Well, like I said, I think the first movie had it right until they blew it up. This could have easily been half of the galaxy versus the other half of the galaxy, as opposed to small band of rebels against large empire. You could have did that. That's my issue, and that's not even with this movie. That's just the overall thing. Where at the end of the movie, where they show the little boy with the force powers, and they show the rebel symbol, we're back to this shit again.
You know, I mean, to that point, listen, maybe instead of having the rebellion, maybe it's the rebellion becomes the norm, right? Where the rebellion is actually now the government. The rebellion is now the new empire, if you will, because they've kind of taken over from the old empire, and part of it is the First Order rising up and almost them becoming the rebels and fighting to take back control. I don't know. I think it all works for me. One other thing, as we're discussing that, I remember that people are also butthurt about. We're talking about Leia, Icicle Leia. Does anyone have any issues with?
No.
I'll give my
frozen Leia through space.
I'll give my nerd response because I've read books. She's been using the Force piece by piece in the books as I've read them. It's always known that she has the Force. The idea that she's flying in space, no one flies in space, you float in space. There's no gravity. So she just pulls herself to the ship. It does look stupid, I'm not going to lie. It looks Wicked Witch or Mary Poppins-esque. It should have been shot better. Galaxy. Yeah, very Guardians. I mean, I know that people complain that too much is explained away with the Force, but she uses the Force to cover, to insulate herself for a few minutes, and she's able to pull herself back.
You know what? No, that's bullshit. Because you know what? If Anakin Skywalker can hold himself together after being chopped the fuck up and burnt alive to Palpatine got him,
I know.
She can survive 20 seconds in space to save herself.
They've done a lot of things in the Force that explains this. It was kind of weird in that because she is dead. It left it out wow, did they just kill her? I mean, I guess they could have, if they really wanted to be dicks about it, they could have killed her there and cut her next 5 or 6 scenes out and just been done with it.
And then you wouldn't have gotten to see her and Luke together.
Yeah, you wouldn't have gotten
why they did it. I mean, that was the payoff, right?
Cyborg Man had a question in the chat I just want to address real quick. He asked, why did Luke make a map to himself if he didn't want to be found? He didn't make that map. It was a map to the first Jedi Temple, and they just assumed that's where he would have went.
Okay.
It wasn't that he left breadcrumbs or anything. It was just that's where, even where they have the scene with Han and Rey and Finn, and in that first scene where it says people think he went to the Jedi Temple. So that's where the map is. It's not that he didn't leave the map.
Let's jump to some things that people seem to like. Cyborg Man brings it up in the chat. I think it's amazing. Is that Rey and Kylo fight together against the Red Imperial Guard, whatever you want to call them. Are they Imperial Guard at this point?
Yeah, I mean...
Don't they have a really fancy name?
The Knights of Ren.
Petroleum. No. Petroleum Guards. Petroleum.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened to the Knights of Ren? Are they?
They're in episode 9.
You think they're going to be in episode 9? Anyway.
They weren't in episode 7. They were just alluded to.
No, they were shown in episode 7.
They were shown, and we assume that's who they were. Well, Luke said Kylo left with a handful of other Jedi.
Yeah. Right.
So,
But we
just don't know where
we kind of see them though in one scene.
we see him in that Ray's vision.
Ray's vision type thing. Okay. I thought the fight was great. Kind of starts off with Ray being captured. Man, I feel like we haven't really even talked about the movie. I mean, we have been talking about the movie, but there's so much that I do like about this, and one of the main things to lead up to this fight, you have this connection between Ray and Kylo Ren throughout the. I liked it. I liked it a lot, where they're kind of talking to each other, and you think that they're kind of getting to know each other's weaknesses and know each other more, and it's kind of Snoke manipulating them both to get Rey to essentially give herself up to Kylo. Kylo brings her into the throne room. Snoke wants Kylo to kill her, and instead Kylo kills Snoke. And then a battle ensues between Kylo and Rey, where they start fighting these Imperial troopers, Imperial guards, or whatever you want to call them, dudes in the red. And I loved it. I loved that scene. Like, honestly, awesome. It was amazing. I was really pumped for that scene. I don't hear disagreement.
No. I don't know what to say besides it was awesome. It was, I almost feel like there was like a EU nod because everybody's saying, oh, they're going to be twins, and just for a second I thought, fuck, are they twins? Just for a second, just like, shit, are they the Solo twins? Because that's what it looked like. That's honestly what it looked like brother and sister whooping ass together. Yeah, and it was great. It was I don't know. I feel like again. Kylo Ren, I don't know how powerful he is. His power seems to fluctuate. Because as powerful as he is, shouldn't he be able just to take out them fuckers by himself?
Those Imperial guards were putting up a pretty good fucking fight against them.
Well,
and then he got his ass beat by Rey in the first one for first time she's holding. And didn't Finn hold his own against him too in the first one, right?
No.
Yes.
Everyone makes it. Yeah, everyone always makes that point. They forget the 5 minutes before that happens, where he gets shot by Chewbacca with that weapon that was built up the entire movie by being the strongest crossbow the world's ever seen. So he takes that shot in the stomach, and then everyone gets upset because someone else got a few shots in on him. But he's actually dying as he's fighting those two.
But I've been thinking about those red guards since Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Where we see them escorting Vader and the Emperor, and I always was like, those have got to be some seriously badass dudes.
Those are the bodyguards for Vader.
Right. So I was like, who the hell are these guys? And I was always disappointed that we didn't see Luke fight all of them at the same time in Return of the Jedi. Because I was like, where are they during this whole powwow that happened where the Emperor and Vader died? They were completely letting everyone down. So I was so psyched. I was not expecting to see that ever.
So great.
I thought Ren and Rey were great throughout the movie. I thought, Driver and Ridley had great chemistry on screen.
I thought so too.
And, the Force Skype sessions were a little interesting at first, but
their Skype sessions worked much better than our Skype sessions.
Considering the galaxies they have to go across, I mean, their sound is much better.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the emo Kylo Ren Twitter account.
Yes.
He's had some killer tweets recently. My favorite is, "Hey girl, am I a Death Star? Because I feel like you should keep trying to rebuild me in spite of my obvious flaws and the lives I've destroyed."
Did you guys think in that scene that they were going to turn Kylo? Because that's kind of the idea, that he kills Snoke and they're teaming up there for a few minutes, but it's.
Part of me thought that he would, because do we think he's ever kissed a girl before? Do we think she would like Force holding hands was the first time he's ever held hands with a girl? I think maybe.
If Snoke hadn't died, I would have believed it more that he would have possibly partnered up with Rey to go to the good guys. But the fact that Snoke died kind of tipped me off to say it was still powerful. I felt after all of that, when Rey's pleading with him, it's okay, we'll have them stop. And he's like, no, right? Let's just end the Empire, end the First Order, end the Empire, and the Rebellion. And part of me is like getting kind of like, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then he drops the bomb. Is like, and then we'll rule together. And I'm like,
there's always that part.
Oh, there's that. Because like, part of me.
I mean, he does have a point.
He does. He does. And I think that's one of the points that gets brought up. That's a theme throughout the whole movie. And the part that drags the most, and people are already talking about it in the chat, the part that I'm so torn at, the part that drags the most is the fact that you have Finn and what's her name?
Rose.
Finn and Rose, they're going gallivanting off to this casino to find this code breaker so they can get onto the First Order ship in order
Okay,
to...
first can we talk about like what happened to Star Wars where they could get to a planet and back that quickly?
Right.
It just it didn't make sense from the start, because why are they calling Maz Kanata? Why do they have her phone number readily available? Why does Poe know her? Because they never interacted.
Makes sense.
It looked like a video game when she was there. It was just weird.
Yeah. All they had to do is basically say is like, hey, remember when Finn was a stormtrooper? He knows how to get on this ship.
Yeah, that's all.
And that's all they had to do. But so they have this whole casino thing where they have to go to this casino to show, here's the rich people. Here's the people that are fun. They're the arms dealers, and there's a deep message here about, well, this guy supplied arms to the Empire. Oh no, he's terrible. And the rebellion. To make it this whole like big theme of, war's bad. There is really no innocent people here. Like Benicio del Toro is like, I'm just trying to get through, steal some money. But that's the part that it was unnecessary, dragged so much.
Prequel territory.
Yeah, when they get
feels so much like the prequels.
Yeah. The creatures you see, and I mean, it's I know why they had to do it for the theme of it all and for the message, but it's just with the big dog racing and it just, like they said, that's the part that dragged for me.
It did, yeah, and it killed a lot of the momentum of the movie. But that ties into what we were saying with Kylo is ultimately, in order to fix this all, don't you have to tear it all down, right? And none of this is working. This Empire thing isn't working. The rebellion, none of it is really working. So you kind of tear it all down, and that's kind of the point of that gallivanting off on the casino. Another issue. Again, Phasma's almost a non-issue again. How terrible! They should have just killed her in the first one.
With her character and with Snoke, I don't think we care as much if we don't know that it's Andy Serkis and Gwendolyn Christie. But the fact that we know that those two and they're so talented and underutilized, I think is what really makes it an issue. Because we just see her again she doesn't show up till probably an hour and 45 maybe into the movie. And
she still does more than Boba Fett.
Yeah, I mean, she has her one. She at least beats Finn in the fight, but then she turns her back, and he has that stupid one-liner and hits her again. I like John Boyega, but he was just up and down in this movie for me.
He's a waste. They wasted him. They ain't nothing to do with him. Again, this is what happens when you don't have like a road map. And this is supposed to be a trilogy, supposed to all connect. But if you just making this shit as you go, and you hand it off to another guy, you're like, what the fuck? The fuck am I supposed to do with this character?
I also feel that they have one too many or too many characters that they're trying to tell the stories for.
Because, Rose is completely unnecessary. You don't need Rose for this story. Why is she there?
And
because her sister dying in the beginning with the bomber kind of it kind of makes, because Finn is not someone who's actually really bought into rebellion yet. But his main focus is saving Rey.
Okay.
And it takes her kind of guiding him to really want to fight the First Order.
I get that, but I mean, so they essentially needed Rose to develop John Boyega to develop Finn, and then they needed Laura Dern to develop Poe. Right? I mean, they needed these separate characters to develop these two main characters, but in doing so, you kind of watered down those characters.
So the woman was there to serve the growth of the men, is what you're saying.
I'm not saying in order to develop them and make them better. In order to make them a better man, you need a strong woman to make a better man.
Well, look, this is the thing, right? Because I don't like Rose.
Do you know what love is, Jamil? Do you understand? Can you explain to me what love is?
Shut your mouth.
Rose really doesn't either. She thinks a crush is love. So.
but what the fuck that come? Look, I like how they just kind of walk back because, like, clearly this was going somewhere with Poe and Ray. It looks like, and again, Ryan Johnson just walked that shit back. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
I mean, that's I get it. Like, you needed those to develop the character arcs for this, but wasn't some of the best stuff is when Finn and Poe were together and kind of like shouldn't have then be the guys like doing the adventure together to develop them together and maybe push each other to fill in their flaws. I love the Laura Dern thing, and I love the turn of it, and I mean I love Laura Dern as an actress, and I think she was good in it, but same thing, it was just kind of like too much, and the Rose stuff was kind of too much, and if you would have just partnered them up together to help fill in, and this is gonna sound way too bad, but to fill in each other's holes that they had in each other.
I'm about to say something, and this is probably gonna make me sound like Abe a little bit. It feel like they're just there because they're women, because the thing with Laura Dern, I actually like Laura Dern's character, but the whole thing is the fact that Poe causes a mutiny. Just tell him. He's one of the leaders of the resistance. It makes no sense not to tell him. Of course he's gonna cause a fucking mutiny. Cause from his point of view,
you're a coward.
You just you just letting people die. Like,
but he's also the same guy that just made a horrible decision and cost you 5 bombers and half your fleet. So maybe you're not gonna trust him with anything right now.
But no, you could trust him with information. You don't trust him to act. You could trust him with information. It's not like he's going to go tell. You just tell him, like, hey, we have a plan. This is that. And he's like, okay. But because of that, we have this whole plot line with Rose and Finn that goes nowhere. That does nothing for nobody. And it, like I said, it was just better ways to do this. It really was just better ways to do this. And we should have more women. I'm not saying that, but like I just wish they had more to do. I wish they were stronger characters.
I mean, she's a strong character. She turns the goddamn ship around and kills.
That is point taken, Marty. That was
ballsy.
What was her name?
Holdo.
Holdo.
That is now the Holdo maneuver. That is what they would be called.
Pretty amazing.
See,
I was shocked.
I found her whole storyline kind of like an interesting inversion of what happens with Lando. Yeah. Where he's like, he shows up and we're assured that we know this character already. Like, oh, yeah, she's like high up in the rebellion. She's high ranking. We can trust her. And then it's like, can you really?
Yeah, that's the weak thing, because I've read books with her, so I know who she is, so I know to trust her. But as I can see watching it, you would think maybe Poe's right the whole time, because I don't know.
Right, and so like we saw that like they met Lando and he was actually their friend, but ended up turning them over to the Empire anyways, and then had to kind of earn his place back with them. I was like, I was still riding the like we're gonna hit all the same plot points train, and so I was fine with that while I was watching it. I was like, oh, maybe she's gonna double cross them, or maybe like Poe is, or maybe.
Well, that actually wound up being Benicio del Toro's character that does that.
Yes.
It was good. I didn't mind the stammer as so much, but he's such a good actor. I don't know if you wasted him a bit with that.
I'm assuming that he's going to be back in the third. Who knows? But you would assume that they would bring him back. Yeah. Again, he served one purpose, and it was to kind of
open the door.
He should have been the guy they were looking for. The fact that they went to go look for Justin Theroux, who had a weird accent, who was playing dice or whatever the fuck, but they wind up in the prison cell and they wind up finding him, and he can do the job too. So there was just a weird plot, weird storytelling with.
There's a bunch of that though, and I'm a fan of this movie, but there's just a bunch of just unnecessary, complicated, convoluted plot. It could have been a lot more straightforward. It could have been more impactful if they didn't drag some of this on and try to hit us over the head with the same theme like 4 or 5 times. Like, we get it. You could, like, honestly, all you'd have to do is really to make it hammer home is that one scene after Kylo and Rey kill all those awesome Red Imperial guards, and he says, let's just tear it down. Let's just me and you start this thing over, everyone's wrong. The First Order's wrong. The Rebellion's wrong. Everyone's wrong. Let's just, me and you, burn it all to the ground and start all over. And you get kind of biblical on it, right? Like, literally, it's like, we're gods. We failed. Let's burn it down. Start anew. And that could have hammered the point home without having to have these 5 or 6 little things that are trying to piggyback off of each other that kind of drag down the movie. Question about John Boyega. Did you guys think he was going to die? I really did.
I thought just because they killed so many people.
I thought they were going to kill him off. I was getting so mad. I'm like, you better not do it.
They should have.
You waste them in this movie. You better not kill them.
No, he should have, because then he would have had a point in the movie.
It would have been a horrible point.
I agree with the both of them. I or at least have Ray save him or something. The way they saved him, like, because you saved him and you could have just as easily killed him by doing that.
That's right. And you almost yeah.
So,
like,
go ahead, Marty. Sorry.
One scene we haven't talked about yet is the of course Puppet Yoda's return, which I thought was the best part, one of the best parts of the movie. We see Forrest goes to Yoda, and he's.
I had issue with it until we talked about it the other day. I kind of had issue with it. It's like, oh, come on. Why is Yoda showing up now? Why hasn't he showed up like after all these years? And you made a great point. The fact is that Luke shut himself off from the Force, so there's no way that Yoda could have visited him. So I appreciated that more once you said that, because it was jarring at first. I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great. Puppet Yoda way better than CGI Yoda from the prequels. Sounded like Yoda. Sounded, like it felt like good old.
It was
Yoda.
Frank Oz.
But it was kind of jarring for me at first. I was like, oh, why are they pulling Yoda out? Is this fan service? But I think it served a purpose. I think it was great.
It's fan service, but it was also great fan service that, I just love the idea. It's like, oh, Luke's going to go run up to this tree with this little torch that he's got. He's like, oh, okay. And Luke, like, oh, you're going to burn the tree down? Lightning strike burns the whole fucking shit down. It's like this, and then because that's what the Force isn't trees and books. It's that's what.
So when do you guys think she got the books onto the ship? Because I had a theory about how they got on there. Did you guys have?
I don't have it. I just we've seen her. We didn't see when she exactly left. I mean, we didn't watch her the entire time on the island.
Well, because I had two thoughts. One was that Luke did go onto the Millennium Falcon, so he could have put them there.
That's true.
But I also had the thought that maybe Yoda told her to take them.
Yeah. Well,
that's
just Yoda knew they were gone. That's why he knew he can.
Right. So in typical Jedi half-truth fashion, he says to Luke explicitly, very carefully, "There's nothing in there that she doesn't already have because he told her to take the books already."
That's good. Yeah.
And I love the whole page turners. They were not part. And,
Yeah.
I missed you, young Skywalker. It was just a fun moment.
Oh, that was the best when he called him young Skywalker, and he's this old grizzled Luke Skywalker. He said, "Your head is still to the stars. Like, you're still a dreamer after all these years." Like, dude.
Cyborgman makes a great point in the chat. Where was it? I just saw it a second ago.
I did think he was going to take the X-wing out of the water too, like you just said.
Yeah, it shows that even with old age, Luke still has a lot to learn, and I think that was the point, right?
Yoda's 1,000 years older than him still,
Yeah. But within those 40 years, he could no longer do backflips and lightsaber fight.
But he can kill that. He can fish like a madman. See that?
I also do appreciate that, they've toned down the lightsaber fights from the prequels. Even though I do kind of like the lightsaber fights from the prequels, but they found a way to make it kinetic without, acrobats or as much.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be acrobats. It should be, again, like the old school kind of sword fighting or samurai kind of sword fighting. It shouldn't be doing ninja fucking flips. I guess we should start wrapping up, even though I feel like there's still much more. I feel like we can do part 2 about this if we wanted to. One of the points we started talking about earlier, and we went off the rails on, and now we want to get back. We were talking about the prequels last week when we were talking about Attack of the Clones, and one of the points that we brought up is how the fuck did the Jedis let Palpatine come to power right underneath their nose? And one of the points that were kind of made in this movie is the Jedis kind of became bloated, right? They became bureaucratic in a way. They no longer were all about the Force. They started looking at measuring midichlorians in people to justify whether they should become part of the Jedi Order or not. It became almost like a boys' club, like an exclusive kind of like, yeah, you didn't measure so much on these, you know, and their arrogance is essentially what led them to allow Palpatine come to power, and that's kind of Luke's weakness, if you will, of when he goes to try to kill Kylo. Mirrors that of Mace Windu's in a way in Revenge of the Sith when he's like, I'm going to execute Palpatine, and Anakin's like, no, we're Jedi. There should be a trial here. What the hell, you know?
No. But Mace Windu was right though.
But is that the Jedi way to execute?
Do you not see what happened when he didn't execute him?
It's actually like the classic argument that stupid people bring up sometimes, like, well, if you knew Hitler was going to have, would you have killed him when he was a baby? It's like, it's that idea of, do you kill evil? It's a Minority Report idea, you know. Can you stop evil, you know, before it happens because you know it's going to happen, or do you trust in your own virtues? Luke couldn't kill his own nephew like that. It wouldn't, like I said, even your son knew that wasn't Luke.
Yeah, because it's just like Luke wouldn't do that. He was like my son was just thrown off by that whole staging of Luke almost killing Kylo. He's like, nah, that wouldn't work. Nah, that Luke wouldn't do that. But no, it just I like that Ryan Johnson. I like that these new directors are finding ways to make the prequels better. Like in retrospect,
yeah. Yeah.
Let's just point out all the problems with the prequels. Somehow that makes them better. Somehow it makes it seem like all this shit was planned and we're just not trying to fix terrible writing for 3 movies.
Right. You fix bad writing with more bad writing, right? 2 wrongs make a right. It's 2 negatives equal positive. Amanda, I know you know math. That works out, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Face math.
Okay. We started 15 minutes late, so we're technically an hour into the show.
Porgs. Can we talk about porgs and how adorable they are?
You can talk about porgs. Do you love porgs?
My son does. I had to literally buy him one. Hold on, make sure I had to buy him one for Christmas. Yeah. I had to buy him the electronic talking one for Christmas because he wanted one so bad. I mentioned the colors because that's what it is. They're, God damn it, Mark.
Not for myself. I bought 4 for different kids.
Yes,
and they all love them.
He bought
so it worked.
Porg for my daughter. Yeah. I was so bummed though. Real quick, I went to go register a website, porghub.com, and it was already registered.
Gone.
I was very disappointed that I could not register that site.
And you know, even though I got problems with this movie, I just want to say I do like it, and like. Fans need to stop because I've heard things from like it's too much comedy in the movie. Bullshit. There's so much comedy in the other Star Wars movies. Have you seen the prequels? Have you seen Jar Jar? Anything with Luke, anything with Han and Leia is funny. Anything with C-3PO is funny.
I love the C-3PO scene where he's like when he sees Luke again, and it's just like and Luke. Mark Hamill winks at him. Luke Skywalker didn't wink at him. Mark Hamill winked at him, and it was just so perfect. So much of that last scene was Mark Hamill, and I don't care because Mark Hamill can do what he wants with this character. He's carried Luke Skywalker torch for 30 years now, and when people are saying, "Oh, Luke Skywalker wouldn't do this," fuck you. It was the coolest scene ever. It was the coolest thing.
Oh no, that was cool. That's what I'm saying. Like, people saying the Porgs are too cute. They fucking had a whole movie with Ewoks that took down the Empire. Man, no, that's all. That shit is fine. All that little shit is fine. The comedy is fine. It's not too much. The comedy is fine. The cuteness of the Porgs is fine.
There wasn't enough for Chewie in this one. I don't think he had 2 or 3 scenes. I think he's kind of a lost character without Han around. He's trying to turn him into Rey's sidekick. It just doesn't.
It's not gonna
lost.
Go right,
I thought we'd see a Chewie in these movies now that's kind of hell-bent on revenge type, but he, you know.
Well, that's the one that Quentin Tarantino will direct 5 years from now.
After he's
The
done
standalone
with Star Trek.
Yeah, after the Han Solo standalone and the Lando standalone, we'll get a Chewie revenge flick directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Only one R2 scene. It was great, but it's still...
Kill Kylo. Kill Ben.
No, you see, that's the thing. That's the thing about that. I actually like what they do with Chewie, because if you think about it in the context, that's his nephew. Like in like a real strong sense of the word, yeah, he killed Han, and we know how close they were. But they're still like his family too. Like that's Chewie family too. I don't know if Chewie would be hell bent on killing Kylo, because he probably helped raise them.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
But no, I do like that scene with R2, and he was like, "That's a cheap trick." I'm like, I like that Luke called it out, that it was a cheap trick.
Yeah, but it's
for all of us.
It was
because it worked.
Yeah, it did. It was a very cheap trick, and I like it.
Because that was the first part of the movie where Luke kind of lit up again, where he saw R2.
Yeah.
And then, I guess the major question now going forward is, the ultimate, the necessary question: what you do with Princess Leia? Which I think after this movie, it's very easy to say she died. If they left a lot open for her, you might have had to recast or do something else. But
start off with a funeral, kind of like in the opening crawl. The rebellion's still on the run. Princess Leia's dead. There's
not much for her to do.
No, actually, this is what I was thinking. Right, we don't know how much time she spent on that planet with Luke, but it wasn't a long period of time. I really believe the plan was, because every movie she has one of the trio as a mentor. I really think the third movie was going to be like Leia training her to be a Jedi or use the Force. Because I think that's what that scene was for at the beginning, to show that Leia is almost as strong in the Force with Luke. And without a teacher, without a Yoda, she would have been the perfect person to teach Rey.
So you think they're just going to CGI her then? I mean,
Oh, no. They're not going to do any of that shit. In fact, I hate to say this, but somebody said it, higher up, fuck, we killed off the wrong character. Someone said it, they killed off the wrong character. The death should have been switched somehow.
Once she passed away, they probably should have just rewrote it to,
it would have been easy. You could have been she's the one that brought Luke there through the Force, and she could have faded away.
You could have removed that outer space scene, and you could have just had her end up on the planet and dying on the planet with Luke getting there and holding her, whatever.
I would have swapped her and Laura Dern.
Or that.
And she would have made the sacrifice play at the end, and Luke could have force visited her on his way to the planet or whatever. She's probably used to seeing him like that anyway.
She could have force visited him in a way,
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that now we have the scene with Luke, she admits that she gave up on Kylo.
Yeah.
So her story, and then one of her last lines is, "What are you looking at me? Follow him." Talking about Paul. So her story is ultimately wrapped as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if she had died, she would have had a part in episode 9, of course, and she probably would have died in that. So to recast her just to then kill her makes no sense, really. So and the way this movie ends, you don't have to pick right back up. You can go 3 years. You can go a couple,
10,
as long as you want. Not that long, but you can go as long as you want, really, and just say she died either naturally. You can say that a mission went wrong. She sacrificed herself to do whatever.
She went into outer space again.
Yeah, and they rallied to her. Everyone's now rallying to her cause.
Maybe
it's to shoehorn in something else at this point it wouldn't make sense.
What else do we got?
I think that's it. I think we covered the whole movie.
Hit on the porgs. I haven't talked to anybody that likes the casino part, I gotta say.
It felt like it would have been a great episode of Clone Wars.
Yeah, it was a good Rebels episode. Yeah.
My last thought is, I think now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I think you guys are bringing me around on Luke. I think the big problem is, I've had 15 years with Anakin fucking Skywalker, who is the ultimate villain. I've had 15 years with him damn near nonstop. I've got hundreds of episodes of a cartoon with him as the protagonist,
Uh-huh.
and 3 movies with him as 2.5 movies with him as the protagonist. Like I forgot all this time with Anakin fucking Skywalker, Darth Vader. I wish I would have had that much time with Luke Skywalker, and I think that's the problem. I think that's where fans are coming from. Honestly, like they probably can't express it that way, but I really think it's that like we've had all this time with him. We have had like we've seen.
So unfortunate that that Lucas wanted to do those prequels as opposed to just following up on the story in the 90s when they were younger, and they could have done. And
back when he claimed he knew what the next 3 movies were going to be too.
You could always do the prequel, but you can't once they're older.
You're also talking as though we're not going to get more. We're going to get more movies. If we're not going to get Mark Hamill, we'll get Mark Hamill next time as the Force goes. I don't doubt that at all. But in 10 years, we can get a Adventures of Luke Skywalker series on Netflix.
Do we want that though?
No,
yes. Wouldn't you rather go animated at that point? Wouldn't you?
Yeah,
it could be a show. It could be a movie. It could be a Netflix show. It can be a cartoon. It could be. They're a comic series already.
I don't think they're doing that. I mean, the reason Clone Wars was because it was the thing that was out, and there was no more Star Wars. You know, it doesn't work like that. They don't go backwards. You know what I'm saying? They will only go forward if they was going to make something.
I mean.
That's the thinking, Marty. That's how they think. You know what I'm saying?
We're getting a Han Solo movie. It's going to suck probably. After that, we're getting an Obi-Wan movie probably after that, which will almost definitely have a child Luke in it. And then they're just going to go from there. Rian Johnson has a whole new trilogy he's going to do after Episode 9. We don't know what that is.
Well, like I'm just saying, as far as the animated route, I would love like something that's set right after Jedi. You can bring back Boba Fett. You can answer all those questions. You can have a version of the Thrawn trilogy. Hell, you can tell how Snoke came to power.
I mean, they're going to do all these things. Disney, this thing made $500 million already. They're going to keep doing shit.
In fact, they're just going to start throwing X-Men into it too now.
Yes,
yes,
they are. Wolverine's going to be in Episode 9.
Aliens and Predators showing up in this? Why not?
Oh, that would be great. That would be so great.
No,
that would be amazing. I've always had this headcanon theory that Palpatine was consolidating power to protect the galaxy from an outside threat. It was even worse.
There you go.
Oh, just to touch on it for a second, I know all the nerds are happy about
No.
All the nerds, but no, this is bad. This is bad. That Fox.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
This is terrible. Good part of me is like, yay, Galactus and Fantastic Four. Other part of me like, no. This is one of the original 5 studios.
It's funny how we only think in comic book terms nowadays. It's like, oh, Fox is good. We can finally have the right X-Men movie. But it's like, oh no. Oh wait, it's gonna be a corporate conglomerate. Oh shit.
But you know what? Yes, we'll get good X-Men Fantastic Four movies. But that also means they would never stop making Avatar movies, and they would keep making them until we die. Now, so and nothing's worth that shit. Nothing is worth that price right there.
All right, I'm assuming we'll end this episode. This is the last that we'll talk about The Last Jedi in this episode. I have a feeling that we'll probably end up talking more down the road at some point. We might have to revisit this and I don't know. I felt like we rushed certain things, but I have nothing more to say at this point.
I've seen like 2-hour spoiler review videos up on YouTube. So
I honestly think we might have a part 2 at some point. I don't know.
We still talk about Ghostbusters every once in a while, so maybe this will come up again.
Fair point. Maybe we'll do a year in review. Maybe that'll be our final episode of this year. We'll talk about all the movies we saw. Oh, Ghostbusters was last year, right? It was 2016.
Yeah.
It wasn't this year.
It felt like it was this year.
Didn't it?
You guys talk about it like it came out this summer.
Yeah.
Well, we got the new versions. We got Ocean's 8 coming out now. The trailer for that dropped today. So that's
We don't have time for stuff this week. We're just we're closing
out.
No. If you want stuff, follow us at Movies and Stuff Show on Twitter. Then you get the stuff there. Follow Amanda, her Mission Cat, right? You can follow her. Follow her Instagram. Instagrams, multiple, right? You got multiple. Follow her walls.
Oh yeah, the walls are great.
Do that. Jamil quit social media, so
No. I'm still on Instagram, Jamil Payne.
Okay.
Either way.
You do your the toys, right?
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
I love them.
Jamil does a good job.
I'm still doing that. I'm actually at the beginning of the year doing a bunch of Star Wars pictures.
Oh, nice.
I've been playing them out. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
I just liked the Punisher set. Those look so cool.
That was good. Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool.
Thank you.
Really cool. So, but, don't expect him to talk politics anymore. Jamil is all politicked out, right?
Not after Uncle Bad Touch almost won Alabama. No, I'm done.
So yeah, make sure to follow us. Yes, and that was Marty's. That's what I got Marty for Christmas. I got him a lightsaber pizza cutter.
For all the people that say this movie is over commercialized,
I bought him a lightsaber pizza cutter.
Which again, bullshit. Like they not remember when the prequels came out. They not remember when the prequels came out. It's ridiculous that these weird like complaints that like no one didn't have before.
I just want Disney to get the rights to Kiss, and then they can make Kiss Star Wars action figures, and then the ultimate commercial meets the ultimate commercial, and the world just explodes there. Okay, great. Follow us on Movie Stuff Show. Follow us Twitter and Facebook. Please make sure to like this video. Subscribe to us here on YouTube to see us rant and ramble for way over our time. We'll be back next week, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. I said 9:15. We don't have an episode yet. We'll think of something.
Shape of Water, you can always review
We were
that.
thinking we might do Shape of Water. Maybe.
Shape of Water we'll do, and some year in review stuff. And
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. That's next Monday, so we'll be back right after Christmas. So everyone enjoy, and thank you, Jamil. Thank you, Amanda. As usual, you guys are great. Thank you to chat. Chat was awesome today.
Yeah, chat was very good today.
Very cool chat. So I really appreciate it. Good night. Bye.
Peace.